Hello, and we are live. And I know I say this in every episode, but today we have a really amazing human being here. We're going to have a conversation with. He is a professional trained chef turned entrepreneur and now runs one of the largest franchises in the world. Let's get into it. Hello, I'm Christian, the Disruptive Chef Entrepreneur host. I'm really excited to have a really good friend of mine with me today. And we're going to have a conversation because he's a classically trained chef. He's amazingly good what he does. He's not only a CEO of a multi-million dollar company, he's also the CEO of the largest teppanyaki chain in the world. You see him everywhere when you go on LinkedIn. He's the next Gary Vee. But more of that, he's an amazing human being, and I'm really lucky to call him a business partner and a friend. With that, Troy Hooper, welcome to the show.
Chef, always great to be with you and awesome to be on a live real show with you. I'm really proud and happy that you're doing this and excited to be a part of it, of course.
Thanks. So, Troy, tell us a little bit about your background. You did some amazing stuff in your lifetime. You've seen some amazing stuff. Tell our listeners a little bit about how you started and how did you get to where you are today.
Yeah, I grew up on this construction site of a restaurant, bar, and nightclub. My dad had a couple of construction companies, and one of the things he loved was to have a good party, throw a good party, or go to a good party. So he built bars, restaurants, and nightclubs. So he'd be a pretty popular guy at those events. And I grew up on those construction sites, learning how to build and all of the things that go into that. And it really the party side of it, my dad hosting a lot of events and parties. I was in the kitchen. He loved to put together the platters and pies and all that great stuff. So I learned how to cook by 4 years old. I was cooking my own meals and certainly rolling up ham and putting toothpicks in it. Right. In the old days, charcuterie was very different in the 70s, just so everybody knows. But that really kind of got me thinking I wanted to be a chef. And 17 years old, I went to culinary school. I worked in restaurants in the kitchen all through culinary school. I always had that business mindset, so became a kitchen manager at one point. Really enjoyed the whole P&L and ordering and inventory management and scheduling and just managing the dollars and the people. So I went to business school, and that really kind of drugged me away after about 6 years of professional cooking after culinary school. I decided to pursue the business side of it and go to the front of the house. And so got a business degree, started managing and worked my way up through fine dining, private clubs, luxury resorts, and usually finer hotels, the F&B side of finer hotels. So that's really where I cut my teeth for about half of my 32-year career this year.
Wow. So for me, I think you have a really remarkable career and some really remarkable success in everything you do. So if you look backwards, what do you think was the driving force behind that, making you not just that driven individual you are, but you attract people everywhere you go. People want to hang out with you. How do you do that?
Well, it used to be my tan being from Miami. No. Yeah, you know what? The real answer is curiosity. I've always been a pretty curious person. Weirdly, though, I don't like to read. I have a hard time consuming the written word, but
Yep.
I'm very, very curious. And so for a good 2/3 of my career, I've always had kind of two things going on. I've always been not like you, 1997 things you have going on all the time, but I've always been very serious and very dedicated and focused on the career or the thing I was doing, but I always had something else going on the side that I was learning. And
Mhm.
and that at one point was scuba diving, and I went very deep into that. I while I was in culinary school, I became a maritime captain and got very deep into that. Ended up on the 10th largest yacht in the world, working for Paul Allen. So I've always kind of had that really serious job and really serious hobby. And at some point, they both became jobs. Like it just was
Yep.
like, you know what, this hobby thing is fun, but there's things I want to do that are alongside the things I'm already doing in the same industry. And once I did that, once my job became my hobby, became my lifestyle, that's when things really changed. That's when really the rocket ship happened, the hockey stick jumped, and I saw a lot of accelerated, amplified success in my career, across the board. So
I, I
curiosity and digging in deep in whatever it is you're interested in. That's what got me going.
I want to go a little bit deeper on that because there's a lot of chefs out there which would like to do something else. They, first of all, never know what they want to do because with all the programs we do and the conversations we have with chefs out there, they said, I'm only good in cooking. Or they really don't understand the transferable skills our industry actually allows them to learn and be really good at.
Sure.
But for me, it's more mindset. And you and I talked a little bit about mindset earlier. Can you talk to me? What goes through your mind when you said, "Hey, I have this job, but I'm building something on the side"? Um, how do you make that bridge, not to burn one or the other?
Yeah. So don't quit your day job. Let's start with that. I did that a couple times in my life, and it's motivating, but it's hard and scary too.
Hmm.
Keep the day job, but the answer is ask yourself authentically and honestly, what is your passion, or what is that curiosity? Is that a passion? Is that something you're just infinitely interested in? And it's okay if you dig into it and then it's not.
Yeah,
On
yeah,
the surface, a lot of things seem very interesting. They seem like, oh, I would really love to know more about this side of the business, that side of the business, a different business. But you've got to dig in deep enough to know, right? And then not just start and quit, start and quit, start and quit. Like if it's something that you wake up in the middle of the night thinking about and make notes about in your journal or your phone, or you just say to yourself, I got to remember that in the morning, that's a pretty good indicator you're on the right track. If it's something you're consuming in your social media, or you're watching YouTube's about, and that's something you're consistently like, wow, there's just more to learn, more to learn, there's really no end to this trail of this rabbit hole of information, that's probably a pretty good place to put some effort and thought into. So it really just comes down to your personal priorities, and then balancing the value ROI. Like, we can all go to the bar, we can all go out to eat, we can all go to the game, we can all also go to the park and film TikToks under a tree. So, what is it you want to do, and then just try it hard enough, deep enough, long enough to know whether it's the thing or not. And by the way, it's okay if it's not. Nobody cares. Nobody's going to notice. If you
mhm.
stop doing it and start doing something else, people are going to support you because they support you. So
Yeah.
that's where I would start.
I absolutely love that. And again, our show is all about empowering chefs to do something else because I honestly believe that a lot of chefs have a lot of transferable skills and they good in a lot of things. And we have some local businesses which hired some chefs during COVID, and now they became some of the best employees of that because there is something chefs innately are good at. How did you discover what you're good at? And you said you made that switch from back of the house to the front of the house. You're not just good with customers, you have that business sense and looking at the broader picture. Look what you're doing currently with the franchising model. Where do you develop that kind of thought process?
Um, Number one, most importantly, is I remain very humble about what I know. And I know that I don't know everything. I use a lot of terms like, if you want to run faster, run with people who run faster than you.
Mhm.
I'm terrible at running. I'm slow. I'm clunky. I have tree trunks for legs. So running is just not a thing I'm going to be good at. But if I wanted to run better, I would find people that understand the technique, understand, the right equipment, understand the
Mhm.
right nutrition, et cetera. I would learn everything there is to know about running better, right? So as an analogy, if you're in the back of the house and you really want to understand finances and intricacies of inventory management,
Yeah.
FF&E and building a restaurant because you want to own and build your own restaurant. The information's out there, and I don't just mean on the internet. I don't just mean on YouTube and things like that. I've always surrounded myself with mentors.
Mhm.
I always keep somebody, and usually it's multiple somebodies, but 2 to 3 people in my life that I very humbly express to them, I look up to you. I admire what you've done. More importantly, I admire how you've done it.
Mhm.
And I want to learn more. Things I don't know. I want to get to that level. Can I call on you? Can I have 15 minutes? Can I email you from time to time. When we're in passing, can we sit down on the couch at the conference and spend 15 or 20 minutes? I got one question for you, and be really respectful of their time, but say to them, I want to be where you are, and the only way I'm going to do that is by learning from people like you. Look, everybody wants to be wanted. Everybody who has something others don't yet have want to share it, especially in our industry where people and right. So I think it's very important to surround yourself and look up to people and get them to support you. And it's very, very easy. And I think it's extremely important. So no matter where I'm at, I think it's really important to share what I've experienced and share what I've learned. And that's what we call knowledge, right? And whatever, but to share that with anybody who asks for it, and likewise ask for it from those who've gotten there before me. And that's
I,
the path.
I love that. That's some really good advice. And so now you're in the back of the house, you moved to the front of the house, and then you became a successful consultancy owner. Where did that come in, and how did you start to make that pivot from an operator to an entrepreneur?
When you do have some success, and one thing about me is I've always done it differently from most. And so that's why I started the consulting practice, because we became a turnaround
Hmm.
of distressed assets in the food and beverage business. We specialize in turning around those businesses and making them more successful. And I mean, truly in trouble in environments. And most of that's because of the people. The people have made bad decisions. They've hired the wrong people, or the people in the organization are just toxic and burnt out or pissed off or whatever, jaded. So that's a really tough hill to climb. But I just love the challenge of it. So, at the end of the day, for me, it was always about solving a problem. I love to solve a problem. I'm not really a puzzle guy, but I love to solve a problem. And when I feel like I see the solution and nobody else sees it, or I see the path, like I think everybody sees where they want to get and
Hmm.
what they want their business to look like, or they want their career to look like, but they just don't see the roadmap from here to there. I'm really a map maker. I'm really good at reverse engineering. Where does this need to get? What are all the things it needs when it gets there to be successful and maintain and grow and do well? And then I just reverse engineer it. All right, well, to get there, you've got to have these ingredients. And within those ingredients, you got to have these, steps. And so there's a process to building this recipe, pun intended.
Yeah.
And so I just know how to reverse engineer a really great end result.
You
And
you make it sound so easy, because
sorry,
that's not a learnable skill. I think that's something needs to be innately within you.
no, I think
And
it is. No, I'll argue that. I think it is. Look, I think everybody sees many of the pieces to the puzzle, right?
yep,
They know where they want to go. And here's what I think. I think most people focus on the end goal exclusively,
totally agreed. Yep.
right? Like winning the lottery. I'm just going to win the lottery. I'm just going to, and that's a gambling problem. I'm going to hit red. I swear I'm going to hit red. I'm going to hit red, and so I think everybody has many of the pieces. They just don't see how to connect those dots.
Hmm.
And here's the answer. You're not going to figure it out on your own. Everybody who's had a great idea, invention,
Hmm.
product, concept, a script for a movie, doesn't matter. They've all been made better because other people participated in the process. And so stop trying to do it alone. Stop thinking about it endlessly at night in your chair and banging your head against the thing to go like, oh, why is this never happening? Why can't I get where I want to go? It's because you didn't open up and say, I need help.
I love that, because I think that's a problem within the culinary industry. We in the culinary industry were taught you don't ask for help because it pretends, or it shows that somebody you weak. You want to do it on your own. I would say there's the military and the culinary industry are the same, because you know what? I will do it by myself. I will suck it up. I will learn. I will not ask for help. And raising your hand saying, "Hey, I need help here," is perceived as a weakness.
Yeah, that's the thing that will hold you where you are. I mean, at the
Hmm.
end of the day, as Sean Walshoff says, stay curious, get involved, ask for help. Um, your curiosity and your sharing of your interests with others will attract the right people to you. I'll tell you, when we were creating our own concept right before the pandemic, I just started telling everybody what Kiwi was, what we wanted to do, how we wanted to help people. And immediately people were like, oh, well, then you need to meet so and so. And I want to introduce you to so and so. And I bet they would be really interested. And here's the skills and resources and experience they bring to the table. Boy, if you could just get them to get involved, it'd be amazing. And boom, I'm sitting in coffee shops having coffee, and people are saying, wow, Troy, that sounds amazing. I would love to be a part of that. I think that's a great idea. And how can I help you? How can I be a part of supporting that? How can I get involved?
I,
Right?
I love that because I'm a big believer that we creating conversation, and you and I had a lot of conversations, and some amazing things came out of these conversations. Um, but how do you make that pivot where the chef thinks it's a weakness, sharing what I really feel and help about? What is a piece of advice you would give somebody who is sitting on a great idea, but he doesn't know who to open up to?
Get out of your network. What you're afraid of is judgment,
Hmm.
right? You're afraid of somebody telling you that's a stupid idea, or what the hell are you doing? You have a great job. Why would you jeopardize it? That's what people are afraid of. So get the hell out of your circle. Get in your car and go 3 cities over. Go to a conference of a different type that you don't know anybody. You're not going to run into anybody, right?
Hmm.
Whatever that is, get online and become part of a roundtable or a mastermind group with somebody you've never spoken to, like Christian. You're in Ottawa or Toronto today. Nobody knows Christian, and vice versa. You become part of that roundtable group, and you get the encouragement, you get the information, you get the support from people you don't even know, because everybody's like, "Hey, that sounds awesome. I've done something like that before. Or I know a piece to the puzzle, and let me give you an answer, or make
Hmm.
an introduction, or share this resource with you." Right? That's what you and I do a ton, right? You're like, hey, have you heard about this? Have you seen that? Check this out.
Yep.
So if that's what it is, get out of your inner circle and go to another circle that has no understanding of who you are. You have no value in their opinion emotionally, and just objectively ask for information, and then leave your ego back there somewhere where you left, and just accept that what they say is their perspective,
Yeah.
and they're trying to give you something. It's another way to look at it. It's a piece
Yeah.
of the puzzle. You don't have to use it.
In our programs, we always use the philosophy: don't talk to your close friends or your family,
Yeah.
because first of all, they don't have the same ambitions as you do, and second of all, when they turn down your idea, it really hurts because you respect them, because they're family and loved ones. So it's a lot easier to get into a group and be part of a mastermind. And for me, I think there's nobody better in building connections and being a networker than you. So you have back of the house, you come to the front of the house, and now you're a successful consultancy owner where you help these struggling restaurants. Where did your ability come for networking? I think you're an extremely good networker. And for me, I always look at, on LinkedIn, hey, what is Troy up to? Because I want to do what he does, because you're extremely good at it. Where did that come in, your way of networking and building a support group?
There's DNA there somewhere. Being an only child of a single father who ran successful large businesses by himself, really. He worked 6 days a week, 14, 16 hours a day, yet found all the time in the world to bring me along and make me a
Mhm.
part of it. I was treated almost as an adult most of my life. Take that for whether that's a good thing or otherwise, but I learned how to talk to adults before I ever learned how to talk to kids. My only way of talking to kids was on the playground fighting, right?
Mhm.
I didn't know how to have a conversation with a kid. So really, I was kind of raised into that world, and I felt very comfortable asking questions, listening. I learned, and still, it hasn't been very many years that somebody hasn't said to me, "Hey, Troy, uh, listen, just listen. Don't interrupt. Just listen. Don't ask that question. I know you want to. Just listen for a minute." But sitting back and listening and trying to absorb, and then if I didn't understand, going back later and saying, "Hey, what did that mean? What were they talking about?" And to my
Yep.
dad, one thing my dad did really, really well was explain to me
Yep.
anything I ever asked. He wasn't sitting me down and saying, "Okay, son, when we're drafting plumbing plans," he wasn't doing that. But if I asked, he would take the time to absolutely tell me to the nth degree why this was important. He was really about quality. So I was raised to care about quality, care about people, care about my reputation. He never advertised a day in his life. That was one of his prideful things, that
Yep.
he never had to ask for business. The business just came calling because he had a phenomenal reputation. And so, some of those are things that I try to emulate. And if you try to be a good person, I'll say it this way. It's and Gary Vee says this all the time. It's about your intent. If your intent is to give without expectation,
Mm-hmm.
to authentically with humility share what you know, but acknowledge what you don't know, that resonates, and it opens doors, and it opens hearts, and it opens people's minds, and makes them be more interested in supporting you, and that kind of thing. So when you do ask, when you do need, when you do want to learn, boy, they're motivated. They want to share because you've given yourself authentically and honestly to them throughout whatever relationship you've had.
I love that story. I love that story from your dad, the things you have learned. And I believe that drive you have today to have not just a larger impact, but making, a real mark on the industry, I think certainly came from that background. And I absolutely admire that, which kind of goes into what you currently do. So to talk to our listeners a little bit. So you have this successful consulting company, which a lot of people would be very happy and spend the weekends at home and golf, but not you. You said, "Hey, I want to do more. I want to take on a new challenge and make have a bigger impact globally." Talk to us a little bit about Pepper Lunch.
Yeah, so they actually came calling to hire, and did hire my consulting practice first.
Hmm.
They hired us and to help develop the strategy for growing in America, help create a budget. We created a 3-year budget window and a draft plan on how to get from here to there. And by the time we presented it and started to sort of help put the pieces together, they said, it'd be a lot easier if you guys just did it for us. And so they hired us. They asked me to insource as the CEO of the parent company here in North America and co-lead the company globally with the team. And then we've insourced, actually, my partner from the consulting practice, Mark. I actually made an offer to somebody to go be the CEO of my consulting practice recently. So that's kind of crazy, weird. But yeah, look, we saw something in Pepper Lunch. They saw something in us. And there were a lot of really interesting benefits. Look, as a consulting practice who helps emerging brands scale their business while also improving the quality of that business along the way, we see a lot, right? Whether we work with brands or not, or founders or not, we get to see it. We get to dig in. We get to look behind the curtain. Sometimes we get partway down the road in the due diligence process to give them some feedback. And so we get to see a lot of things really early and how things are working. And that puts us in a really interesting position to constantly learn about what people are thinking and doing, but also gives us the good freedom to choose what to be a part of and what has the right ingredients for
Hmm.
success. And when Pepper Lunch showed up, I had never heard of Pepper Lunch, had been in the country for 4.5 years already by the time I heard about them.
Yep.
They've been on the planet for 30 years this year. They
That's
have
amazing.
513 stores today. They had about 440, 450 when I met them. And boy, I immediately saw those differentiating value propositions. I saw a brand that had legacy and pride and authenticity, but was flexible and nimble and willing to change and willing to meet the consumer where they were. I saw some unique things like experiential fast casual, which is really nothing else like it that I've ever seen. Man, there was just so many ingredients. And so when we saw all that, it was lightning in a bottle. We saw that there was there was a special sauce, and there was legacy and provenance and proof of concept, not only in North America, but other Western countries and communities. And so, man, we just were like, let's get involved. So yeah, Pepper
I mean,
Lunch is a 513 unit experiential fast casual DIY teppanyaki. We give you all the raw ingredients of teppanyaki, authentic Japanese teppanyaki, on a 500-degree hot plate that we have a patented proprietary induction unit that heats that up in 74 seconds. And we bring it to your table, and you get to sizzle it your way with different sauces and spices. And we don't have that cooking implement in the middle of the table to clean and work on and be a problem. Everything comes out on a hot plate. It's like a hot stone or a shabu shabu, a
yeah,
similar
yeah.
type of experience, but this is the authentic Japanese version. And you get in and out in 20 minutes for $20 or less. It's just a phenomenal concept. and one that just has a tremendous history that and the food's amazing. Like the
Yeah.
quality of the ingredients, the quality of the food, the flavors are so good and unique and different from what most people are familiar with, but it's crave worthy as heck.
I
I tell most people, I say, listen, I'm glad you enjoyed it. I don't know if you liked it or if you'll ever come back, but in 3 days, will you text, email, or call me and tell me if you're craving this? And every time they're like, oh my God, Troy, I can't stop thinking about this thing. I want to go back as fast as I can, blah, blah, blah. So,
we can't wait to have one in our neighborhood. And by the way, if any of the listeners here working in a college campus and you need to have a new innovative concept, you guys need to reach out to Troy. If you are a chef and you're looking to have a side hustle as a franchise business, you guys got to reach out to Troy. Not only is it an amazing food concept, it is everything food is supposed to be. Is where you can customize it on your own. The flavors are amazing. It looks awesome. And you know what? It's very easy to execute on,
yeah,
and it
super
has a high
simple.
return rate because of the price point. Talk to us a little bit more if somebody would be interested in having a franchise of yours.
Yeah.
What is that?
So
What is that process like?
yeah, it's a pretty simple process. You go to our website, pepperlunchrestaurants.com, click on the franchise button, learn a little bit about it, put an inquiry form in, and we go through the process. Today we're looking for multi-unit partners. They're going to open 5 stores or more generally. We're open in almost every state in the United States, a couple states left for registration to come in from because we've only been doing this for less than a year, really only 2/3 of a year. Like you said, it's a simple operation, no culinary skill required to work or own the business, low labor model. When you think about today's struggles with labor availability, especially culinary labor availability, and in going forward in the future, it's only going to get tougher. We run these stores with as least as 3 people, no more than 6 people usually required. So low labor model, very simple, no prep at all. There's zero prep in the building. We've automated rice making, so you can't even mess that up. Rice can be tough to get right every time, every day. We've automated that, so super simple there. And we've got a national supply chain, redundant, completely duplicated, redundant supply chain, global supply chain officially, but here in the U.S. we've established a strong one. So it's a great concept. It actually exceeds all of the benchmarks for average fast casual QSR concepts on the market. So, like you said, a very strong, very nominal investment, very strong return opportunity, simple to operate, easy to own multiples of. So for that reason, we're definitely getting some attention and getting a lot of inquiries, which is awesome. And we're just looking for the right partners. This is about a brand legacy. This is about furthering and growing a brand legacy and building a company and a brand that's going to last for ages. This is not a flash in the pan kind of kitschy concept. This is something that's been around for 30 years. We've opened 5 stores a month, every month, as long as I've been here. This thing's not going away. And it's really just taking advantage of an opportunity to add some rapid growth trajectory to the business.
I love that. And again, if there's any college campuses or anybody looking for new concepts, you guys got to check it out. It's absolutely amazing. So,
Well, to that point, Christian, real quick, the one unique thing about this concept is that we exist in almost an unlimited number of physical plants,
yep,
because in Asia, you get the corner of a hallway or something and you build a restaurant. Like they put restaurants in the
anywhere.
craziest places in Asia, right? So we can be as little as 207 square feet and still do 600 plus covers a day in 200 square feet. So we can go from a tiny little box and counter all the way up to 2,500 square foot inline with a patio and all that good stuff too. So there's no place that this concept can't exist. Airports, universities, business parks, institutions, sports venues, you name it. This brand can exist, execute, and be very well received just about anywhere you could think to put it.
No, I absolutely love it. And again, you guys need to check it out. It's pretty amazing. And you have a TikTok channels where it actually goes through a step by step of what the dish is like. And when I watch it with my kids, they said, hey, we need one here in Connecticut. So you need to bring one in Connecticut so we can come and frequent that. So with that, I want to quick shift gears a little bit. Looking at the industry overall, where do you think the 3 biggest improvements are for the culinary industry or for chefs? And from your perspective, maybe pivot a little bit. Where do you think chefs need to sharpen their skills? What are two, three, or four things where you think chefs currently falling a little bit short, and for them in order to scale not just their career, but even if they're in a business, what are some of the skills you feel they need to sharpen for that?
Well, I was going to answer part one with what I'm going to answer part two because it's the same thing. As you were asking part one, I was thinking of the answer, and then you asked part two, which is the answer I'm giving. So it is the same thing. Chefs and folks in the back of the house need to understand the entire business. They need to
Hmm.
get out of the back of the house mindset and the back versus front and business versus creative mindset. You can be and do both, and there's many great examples of that. And it's really about putting in the time and understanding and having the humility to ask and learn. And again, you can go get that learning completely out and away from your existing network so they don't even know you're doing it. But the answer is to sharpen your skills. I mean, the opportunity for chefs to grow and scale and have bigger and better opportunity is to really be a more well-rounded restaurateur. I mean, at the end of the day, you need to be a restaurateur of the entire business and understand it. If not any other reason, is to have empathy and understanding as to what the other pieces of this business require and demand, and why they affect you and your side of the business if you're really going to stay
Hmm.
focused at the back of the house. But everyone I walk into, every kitchen I walk into, there is an opportunity to understand supply chain, negotiations, contract, inventory management. Absolutely a better opportunity to understand scheduling. But the most important one is people skills. It's really understanding how to cultivate, motivate, inspire, educate, inform, provide resources. Understand in your mindset that if you are the chef, if you're leading or you're trying to be a leader in the back of the house, the most important thing you can do is understand people, is
Hmm.
understand that every person in that building has a different motivation, a different purpose, a different trajectory, a different goal in their life. And your job, the higher up you get, the bigger that title gets, the more responsibility you take on. What you're really doing is taking on more responsibility to promote other people's interest and skills and capabilities and understanding. So that's what most people don't understand, is that you're not becoming a general, you're becoming a therapist. Like, the higher up you go, in my opinion, the lower you are on the totem pole, because you're the foundation holding everybody up. If you visualize that in your mindset, that my job is to give everybody else the knowledge, experience, and resources they need, then when you go up to each person, you will look at them and say, what knowledge do they need? What experience do they need? I need to move them over to another section. I need to take time and
Hmm.
show them a new skill. Basically, everybody's got to be on an improvement plan at all times. And so, if you're not the lecturer, if you're not the professor of that business, then you're not in the right mindset for what your job really is. And if you start to learn how to do that, boy, you're going to become an invaluable asset. You're not going to be a liability, because a lot of chefs are viewed as liabilities. You're going to become an asset. You become a part of growing the business, not just a line item on the P&L in the business.
I absolutely love that. And it's so in line what we do with this show here. The Disruptive Chef Entrepreneur Show is really built on bringing people like you to our audience so they pick up one or two new things they can implement tomorrow, because the end of the day it's about more impact, more income, and a purpose driven payday. And that's what's happening if you kind of mount it up like that. So with that, I want to say thank you for being here. I know you and I can talk forever. So before we finish off, there's a little thing my team just gave me, three rapid fire questions we're going to ask our audience. But if people want to know more about Troy Hooper and the brands you support, how can they find out more about you?
J. Troy Hooper at LinkedIn. That's probably the best spot. Pepper Lunch Restaurants, plural.com, pepperlunchrestaurants.com. And yeah, you'll find me. And Google either one of those two things together, and you're going to find me. So thanks for having me, Chef. It's
You
been
know,
awesome.
that's awesome. And if you found this valuable today, make sure you share it with a friend, and especially share it with somebody who needs to know, because in our industry, we don't ask for help. And if you haven't done so, please join our private communities. The Disruptive Chef Club is our community where we bring you the newest, the latest, and greatest. You get a front row seat of all things we do, and you get a behind the scenes look of what we do to make all of this happen. So, with that, I want to go into the rapid fire questions. Are you ready, Troy?
Let's go.
First question is, was there ever a time or event where you planned out the whole thing, everything went wrong, but it turned out perfect?
Yeah, absolutely. Always, many times, over and over again. Yeah, look, we've planned to do a new concept launch, and then everything's in line, everything's planned up, and then in this case, the pandemic happened. We were on launch day for a new concept, March 17, March 20, 2020, and we were all standing there ready to go. Had the whole team ready to kick this thing off and build this incredible new brand. And the pandemic happened, and so the money was pulled back, the team was sent away, and in the end, I am here where I am today, and a lot of wonderful things have happened since then. But we had put about a year and a half worth of work into that day, and we were all eggs in one basket. And then all of a sudden, it was gone, and it was like, now what? And so we said, okay, well, we'll see everybody in like 2 or 3 weeks, right? They'll be like this. And then, as we all know, what happened, right? Like standing around for a year and a half. So definitely had to pivot, definitely had to go a different direction, had to refocus and put efforts into many more baskets to get
awesome.
going. But yeah, it all worked out in the end really, really well.
I love that. Question number 2. What is a kitchen gadget which is way overrated?
Way overrated? Oh, I thought you were going to have me throw out a kitchen gadget. Okay. Yeah, I'm not. If you can have a business and not have a fryer, I'd be a big fan. I am not a fan of fryers. So yeah, I think too many people lean into and put too much love and need into having a fryer.
That's a whole food category. You just made a lot of people very upset about that. One of
All
our
right.
other guests wanted to ban air fryers forever. So
Oh yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense.
speaking of banning, if you would have the opportunity to ban a ingredient forever, what would that ingredient be and why?
Sriracha, and I'm going to make a lot of enemies with that. Look, I don't like spicy. I'm from Miami. It's garlic, lime, black pepper, and salt, right? I didn't grow up on this chili life out here in the West, which I'm learning to have to adopt. But, I'm tired of going to every restaurant in America and everything's got to be a sriracha this and a sriracha that. The fact that there's this massive sriracha shortage because of and by the way, I'm right down the street from the farm where all of Sriracha's chilies have been grown for the entire legacy of the brand. And look, there's one brand of Sriracha, but there's lots of Sriracha. So just because I'm not a spicy kind of guy, I'm just kind of tired of everything being spicy for the sake of being spicy. Give me a menu that doesn't have, half or 2/3 of it spicy, this Sriracha that, I'd be happy. So
I love
I
that
would get rid of Sriracha and teach the world the beauty of garlic and cilantro and lime and black pepper and those kinds of ingredients from the Caribbean and Cuban and Afro-Caribbean community of culinary. That's my taste.
I love that. So I really appreciate the gift of your time. Thanks for an amazing conversation. I have 3 takeaways for any chef here. He talked about listen. So chefs, if you want to progress in what you do, you need to listen. The second thing he talked about, ask for help. Make sure you ask for help. And I love the African proverb you referenced. If you want to go fast, go by yourself. But if you want to go far, go with a group.
Absolutely.
And I really appreciate you being here today. Thanks for the gift of your time. And again, to our audience, if you are looking for something new, make sure you hang out with Troy. If you want to be a networker like him, stalk him the way I do. Thanks to the internet, it's legal. And then also, if you are on the market for some really cool concepts, check out Pepper Lunch. You will not be disappointed. It's an amazing concept. So with that, I want to say thank you for being here. Remember to disrupt the kitchen, fire up your career, stay hungry for change. I'm Christian, your disruptive chef entrepreneur host. I'm signing off. Be the change, be the challenge, and be the chef who sets the world on fire. Troy, thanks for being here today, and we see you guys on our next episode. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, Jeff.